12:03. We're going to officially get started. Welcome, everybody, to the August Builder Town Hall. We did take the summer off, and I think some of you are still taking the summer off. So, those of you that are here, we are glad you're here. Please pop in to the chat and introduce yourself. Tell us where you work. Tell us where you're out of, what market. We always love that. We love to see that. And we're just pleased that you're here and that you're going to spend some time with us. Kerry is here broadcasting live from which hospital are you in the waiting
Sarasota
room
Memorial.
of? She's at Sarasota Memorial. Dan's been in the hospital this week having some procedures and things done. So we wish him the very best. And we're glad that you jumped in and we're glad that you're here. And Angela's here and manning the chat. And of course, Angela's with O'Neill Interactive and is our customer experience extraordinaire. She focuses on this a lot in a lot of your talks and webinars and things. And we always love that. And then we have our two special guests that are here today. Yay! They're the ones that are important. Sarah Titus of Eastbrook Home. She's the director of marketing there. And Kyle Erdman, vice president of sales with Foundation, formerly with Zillow. So if you're not familiar with Foundation, you will be by the end of this, by the end of town hall today. And certainly you're familiar with Zillow. So that's the only reason we bring that up. But it's a big commitment for people to be guests and to kind of open up their business and for Sarah to talk about what they're doing in customer experience and for Kyle to take his time. So all four of you really appreciate your contribution to Builder Town Hall. And why don't we start out with Kyle and Sarah and just beyond your title and where you work, just tell us a little bit about yourself, work related, personal, whatever comes to mind. Kyle, why don't you kick us off? Tell us a little bit more about you.
Well, thanks for having me. I am, as Meredith said, I'm vice president of sales at Foundation. So we work all across the country, which is fantastic. I'm based out of Gig Harbor, Washington, just south of Seattle. Grew up on the eastern side of the state, which is all agricultural land. And then I met a wonderful woman named Kayla in college and chased her over to the city and have completely changed my lifestyle over here. Little bit about me. Let's see. I was the first in my family to go to college. So I've always had this leadership mindset that I've taken with me professionally and in my career. And so at my 8 years at Zillow, leading some of the most talented salesmen and women at that organization, separating new construction from used homes. That's just always been in my DNA the last decade. I met Sarah, I think 10 years ago on my first sales pitch to Eastbrook Homes, which has been pretty cool. And so I've really loved this industry. I'm really excited to talk about Foundation and what we do for the customer experience and for builder internal teams. But more importantly, it's been a pleasure to grow up in this industry and to grow alongside a lot of incredible folks. So excited for this conversation today.
Perfect.
Isn't that the truth? Don't you? I grew up in this industry too. Obviously I wouldn't have a career if it wasn't for the industry. I feel so grateful for that. And slightly embarrassed at some of the things that went on early in the career, but that you mature out of and you're like, oh gosh, that wasn't the best, but oh well.
especially from a preacher's kid.
Right? It's like, oh, but I know what you mean when you say you grew up, and I hope we all still have some growing up left to do. We're still
100%.
all learning.
Yeah.
I would just,
And
I just want to add that if you don't, I just posted Kyle's LinkedIn profile in the chat. If you don't follow or are connected with Kyle, I'm just going to brag for you, Kyle. Your Foundation Friday messages are spot on.
Amazing.
And I highly recommend
oh,
you all follow him.
I love them.
Thanks,
I
Angela.
follow you, but I don't know that I've seen one of these. So I want to know now. Okay, we're gonna stop talking and let Sarah have your turn. Sarah, tell us a little more about you.
Yeah, thank you. And thanks for having me here. As Kyle said, we met like 10 years ago. I've been here almost 11 years at Eastbrook Homes. And we've known each other that whole time and really been friends. And I think that's what makes this industry really beautiful is the connections we make and the experiences we get to have together to create beautiful experiences and places for people to experience their memories and their brand new homes. So it all ties together really well. I think that's it's an industry full of very passionate people. And I am a very passionate person. If you know me, you know that. I really love what I do. Been here 11 years. What started as the only person in marketing, and we now have a team of 5. We're in the Michigan area, so West Michigan and Central Michigan, Greater Lansing area along the Lakeshore in Michigan. We do about 400 homes a year. We do kind of everything. So we're a master planned builder. We are the developer and the home builder in our communities. And we do a little bit of everything from townhomes to condos to move up to large homes on large lots and large acreage. And then we build communities anywhere from a cul-de-sac community with large lots all the way up to 750 to 1,000 units in a area. So we have been around for 57, 8 years. So we have a long history in our area, and our tagline for decades has been always more home for the money. And that's really the thing that keeps me passionate about
And you guys, Sarah, do a great job with homeowners and referrals and journey and experience. And I mean, from what I know, you're like a benchmark that people strive for. I really do believe that with you guys. I truly believe that. So you've grown a great marketing department.
Yeah, we do get such great referrals. It's wild to get we do these meet the customer surveys. So whenever someone builds, they get this survey to fill out all their design preferences and a little bit about them. And it goes to the whole company, the little part about them. And so it's so life-bringing to see how many people are like, this is my 6th Eastbrook home, my 8th Eastbrook home. My parents are building down the road. My grandparents have always lived in an Eastbrook home. Now I'm having my first home. Like to see that generational growth and the loyalty that they keep coming back to us. Someone put the other day, they're like, this is I don't remember how many Eastbrook homes, but I'm not going to build anywhere else. So here we go. Like, so it's just
that's Angela and Meredith. Did you guys hear Sarah say, and we use our surveys throughout the whole company? I mean, let's start with that. How you use a survey for experience and referrals. Who wants to jump on that?
Yeah, I think it's important for your whole team and that's what drove that was we do after the close. So we've done that for years. We use Guild Quality, and so we have a shortly after closing and a long after closing, and those go out. But that's at the end. We don't. How do we start at the beginning? How do we get excited at the beginning? And so we were already doing this design and lifestyle questionnaire for the designers because they're the first touch point. So it's kind of like when you think of your process, you're like, this person needs to know this because they're the next in line. And we don't tend to remember that everyone else is eventually going to be in that same line, and they want some sort of connection. We can just show up and draw the plans or select the selections or estimate the job, but if we have some sort of emotional connection to who our buyers are, it really does bring more energy and life to the idea of we're building people's homes. And keeping that front and center is our buyers do it way better than we're ever going to do it. We can send cute emails out to the whole company of like, we're doing great things, but it's much better when the buyers themselves say, I love Eastbrook because of this. I picked this community because I love that it's going to have community gardens. I picked this home plan because I love the 2-story great room. Like that's the kind of questions that we ask in there. So we're getting to know why they picked a home plan, why they picked the community, why they selected Eastbrook, where else they've lived in the world, and they upload a picture of themselves. So we actually get to put a face to the name.
I'd be curious your take on how does technology enable what Sarah is saying? from the tech perspective, that, and not just what foundation does, but in general, how tech, how does it amplify, enable, make it easier for what she's saying?
Yeah, I think I love this question, Meredith. I think a couple things come to mind. So number one, Sarah and I have talked about this. It's so common in our industry to see folks with a title that says sales and marketing, right? And if we've attended an IBS session, and I've seen you ladies on stage doing your thing, and a lot of times we talk about that exact concept, right? We talk about the merging of sales and marketing and how we can get the most out of ourselves. Where we're turning a corner for the new construction industry is bringing together the terms technology and culture, right? Ultimately, the DNA of our companies, how we treat the people around us, how we set expectations with the clients, how we have that internal collaboration. And I think what I've loved about this partnership with Sarah and with Eastbrook Homes and Foundation has really been that ability to tap into that DNA, right? And so I mentioned the leadership hat earlier. I think about things of, okay, we had a positive experience with this customer. This lead generated a referral for us. Wouldn't it be cool if there was an opportunity to go back and break down the game film and to see how many touch points did we have with the customer? What did our new home sales consultant at that community, what did they do that created this amazing experience where they felt life's biggest purchase? They should share that with someone else to have that major step in life as well. And you start to have this opportunity of creating multiplier effects in your company. You have these opportunities as sales managers, directors, leaders to go into these sales rallies and to not just say, all right, guys, like, what are we doing? Right? What are we up to? But more so of, hey, guys, let me give some praise. Let me show some gratitude. And let me show you exactly what our people are doing to represent the Eastbrook Homes app to the highest level that we can. And I think that's what we're talking about today, right? Is like that customer experience, technology partners that drive cultural changes. Ultimately, that unlocks the fullest impact of our teams and our brands.
That's
The
awesome.
thing is that the best team members that you have, the ones that make these experiences happen, they flourish when you show them an example, maybe that somebody else did, or praise them for what they did. But particularly when you show them, because that's kind of how kids work, right? It's like, you've got a great kid when you show them the potential of something and say, hey, this is something you could hit. Why don't you strive for it? And you watch them at least try. It's not that
Yeah.
they have to be perfect and get the result, but then they do. And there's so much pride to it. That's the culture to me. And that's the people you want. And the people in the organization who are threatened by that,
Mhm.
feel territorial towards it, resist because they just don't want to put that effort in. Maybe they're lazy, you know, those people will fade away in time. But I love what you're saying about being specific about what people did that created the positive thing that you've got. That's a fantastic suggestion.
Yeah,
And
that's really cool, and that's really awesome. And I think what both you and Sarah are also talking about when you speak to culture is that the culture also expects and demands people to respect that when someone gets a kudo, that's a good thing for them too. Sometimes you're in companies where they do call people out, like you said, Meredith, and other people are like, oh yeah, that you have to start somewhere in a foundation, haha, that people want that and they expect that. And that's, I think, what both of you can bring to this today is how do you start with that?
Yeah, I think that we tend to get so busy, and building a home is a very complicated process. There are a lot of 10,000 things that go into it. It's a long journey. It's not like making a t-shirt. It's not like selling shoes. It is really complicated. There's a lot that goes into it, and every single way that everyone does it is unique. But at the same time, you're all still doing the same thing. And I think we get really stuck in like metrics and timelines and cost margins, and what got ordered here and what did that PO say, and all of that is still true and it's still important. But there's a person on the other end of that that's going to spend maybe the rest of their lives, maybe a decade, maybe the 3 years in their transition period to a new house. They're going to spend their happiest, their saddest, their most boring, and their most exciting moments in that space that we did. And that there's a beauty in that. So even though there can be a drag and there can be all these other things that we do have to care about, it's important to balance. I think the joy of life is balance. We have to do the hard stuff, but we should reward ourselves with the knowledge that we're building someone's dream in some way, shape, or form, whatever that dream looks like today. We're building them a place to live and to be happy and laugh and cry and smile and cook food.
It's true. And, going through this battle with a chronic illness, I'll say it's for people that are stuck in their house
Yeah.
that maybe aren't super healthy, and it's such a safe haven, shelter. It's everything. So, and rightly so, we tend to focus on people being out and enjoying their lives, but there's a lot of people for which their home is most of their universe.
Yeah.
And
It's where we
so
spend most of our time.
it's super important to them. So I'd be curious, either one of you, which jump in on this, but how do you think customer experience has changed in today's market with the uncertainty, the high interest rates, well, high for now, not historically, and just the environment that we're in? How would you say it's changed? Or would you?
I think that in this moment in time, people have anxiety. All of us have anxiety at some stage about something right now. And building a home is going to be anxious. We can't make that go away. We can't hide that part and pretend it's just going to be, fluffy unicorns and nothing is going to go wrong. That's not reality. We need to know that something will go wrong. Here's how we're going to help you. So earning trust is not doing everything perfectly. Earning trust is, hey, I did something and it didn't work out. Here's how that worked. Here's why that happened. Communication is the key to trust and the key to repeat success. And that is what we found, like with Foundation, they have a lot of questions. And before they were battling that, like, don't want to text them or call them or email them. I don't want to bother them with all of my questions. And on the flip side, you had employees that were like, they keep calling me and texting me and emailing me and I can't do my job. Both of these are true and really hard to solve for. And so the beauty of Foundation for us was, how do you help the employee first and foremost have a more enjoyable work day? How do they not get inundated in their inbox? From the standpoint of our team, construction is the most happy with this because they have all their communication in one place. They can redirect the customer there. They're out in the field. They're not on a desktop. They're not using their Outlook like we in the office use our Outlook. So being able to have everything there and be able to quickly answer a question or take a picture of cabinets going in, there doesn't feel like there's a effort that I have to do. I don't have to take a picture. Now I have to upload it to Outlook. Now I got to send an email and then they're going to ask a question. And it feels easier and it feels more natural to how we naturally want to communicate. It's with quick posts and photos and liking something and hearting something. We want interaction, but we want to be quick we want to be quick about it and we want to be efficient about it. We want it to feel good at the end of the day too. So blending those two things is really important for the employees and then for the customers, giving them that outlet that don't let all your anxieties and questions sit. Just post a question in the messages and we'll answer it as soon as we get to it. So it feels like they get to release their anxiety and they see that it's there. There's transparency on both sides.
Kyle, why don't you jump in? How do you see the change? And I'm sure you just, in general, thoughts on what Sarah's saying.
Yeah, so, I mean, hey, you guys just saw a live example of Sarah's soapbox, and they are they are wonderful. I think I could listen to that all day. Gosh, so I think about, there's always been the key word that comes to mind for me is buyer uncertainty with new construction, right? And just I remember
Yeah.
during my Zillow days, there was always those facts and those figures on customers that were just they didn't really know new construction, right? They were uncertain because it's like, oh, I could never afford a new construction home, or they're too expensive, or it takes too long to build, or all these kind of 101 realities. I think in the last year and the year and a half, what started as uncertainty even quickly turns into buyer's remorse when you get people who sign a contract, right? And so for us, in the scope of how our thinking is at Foundation, we start from a signed contract to lifetime engagement with customers, right? And we do that because, and hey, I attended the Jeff Shore Summit a couple weeks ago, and Jeff talked about like, listen, nothing kills momentum faster than a home that was sold and is no longer sold. And I think about builders. So adopting this mindset of customer experience keeps sold homes sold, but also reinforces this. My builder thought of everything, right? And like to Sarah's point, sending, if you guys have a cultural expectation as a company that we send updates to our customers every week, right? Then like that's obviously the touch point. But what you're reinforcing is when a customer signs a contract and they start seeing all of these incentives and all of these things getting pushed at the community that they chose to build in. Well, crap, did I sign up too early? Did I buy this contract? Like, gosh, these incentives are great. Should I cancel my contract and then buy it again? Or should I, right? But these touch points of the experience of the, hey, these are the 3 things that we need completed in the next couple months, or right, this is to Sarah's point, like this is the update on construction. These touch points keep a sold home sold, but also create an experience where when you ask the customer after they move into their home, hey, you built with Eastbrook Homes, right? What was the experience like? Customers don't say, well, it was 3,600 square feet, it was 2.5 baths, it was they say, oh man, let me show you. Like, here's how the Eastbrook Homes team communicated with me on the app. Here's how they sent me updates, right? Here's how they thought ahead of my problems or the tasks that I was responsible for a smooth closing. And I think ultimately what we're doing is we have this opportunity that instead of having buyer's remorse that we sometimes see with the state of the market and where we're at, right? We're creating this like double down effect of like reassurance that, yeah, I'm so glad I did it when I did it.
But
And this
Kyle,
is how they make me feel.
both to Kyle and Sarah, what I'm loving about what you're talking about also that I would like to talk a little bit about, because, when I'm out there and working with all these people on their experience, because it's a big part of what I do, is that you're talking about touch points, and you're talking about touch points that are early. And like you said, Kyle, that you go for the life of the person in the home and things like that. But it's not just touch points, generally speaking. It's embedded specific touch points that you've learned that people need and want and deserve and like. And that's very different, because we see people that try and just go random and throw in a bunch of touch points for what reason they don't know, and what touch point they're not sure. So I think that embedded and the why behind, and more importantly, the when you do the things you do. I'd like him to talk about that, if that's okay, you guys.
Yeah, I think, and Kyle and I have talked about this a lot too, and I have been very honest with anyone who's asked me about our experience. Our experience with Foundation has been great. We also had a very specific process already in place. We just didn't have the technology to make it sing. So every single sales agent was expected to take a video, a bomb video of every home every single week and send it to their clients. We had no visibility if they were all doing it, but because most agents would, the ones who didn't would usually get called out in those surveys. My neighbor got videos the whole time and I never did. Ooh, that feels bad if now your whole team knows you didn't keep that customer updated. So when we started that like 9 years ago, that became ingrained in the process for our team. So we really just we built and put technology in their hands that allowed them to do the thing they're already doing better, which I think is the key to implementing technology. Is if you want to do everything all at once, you're going to get overwhelmed. So giant changes need to be little bites at a time. How can I implement something that makes what I'm doing today better? And if I don't like what I'm doing today, how do I make a change today and keep that consistently, not just throw all the things in at once, because if you're not going to consistently have a team who's updating the customer, your app's not going to function correctly. Like, the only thing that makes the app work is the stuff putting it in. They built the app, the technology functions. It just doesn't matter if nobody put anything in it. If there's no documents, if there's no videos, if there's no photos, if no one responds, it's not doing you any good. So your technology is just one piece of that. How are you every day engaging in that?
Oh, Sarah, I couldn't agree with you more, because it even, comes from the CRM world as well, right? Where, I mean, the technology is there, it needs to be used, but you have to have that process first, and you have to solve a problem and I think back to your question, Meredith, just about the differences between customer experience now versus before. We were solving our own process, right? With a business process. Customer experience 5 years ago was our process. Now with foundation and with technology, we can solve the process. The customer experience is the customer's process, is what they're looking for.
I love that.
That's the big difference, is that it's not what we want to push out, it's what they need.
Why would both of you walk us through the app, kind of tell us how it's supporting after the sale, like what the pieces are?
Yeah. Do you want to talk to her, Kyle?
Go ahead, Sarah. No, I think through Eastbrook's lens is, that's the most powerful thing. And then
and then you can fill in with the future.
Yeah.
Because the thing
add the sales stuff. Yeah.
Yes. You'll add the sparkle. So for us, we really started with foundation. Foundation do a ton of things. And when we looked at all of that, our team did the same thing that everyone does with technology. That's too much. It's not the right time. It's too scary. We're trying to do all these other things. We just moved over to a new ERP. We're already really busy. Like, why does Sarah have so many dang ideas? Make her go away. Like, nobody wanted to have this conversation. And so we came about it more of what is a problem we have that we know already exists? It's communication. And that's what I mean by, like, construction drove this decision for us, because they're carrying around 2 phones. They're stressed out. They're getting calls on the weekends. They just were overwhelmed, and our construction manager, the managers of the construction managers, were having no idea. They're like, I'm hearing that someone's not responding, but I'm being told they are. What am I supposed to do? Go pull their phone out of their hand and check? Like, that's confusing. And we're not serving someone, and we don't know how to fix it. So it was a visibility and communication problem at the core of it. And so while Foundation had so many amazing tools, we started with that mindset. Walking, then crawling, then walking, then running. With my big belief with technology, and I've implemented a lot of technology, I like it a lot, is how do you start and solve the problem that is the most complicated for someone, or the most time consuming, and then you earn their trust when it actually works, versus being like, to Angela's point, here's a giant CRM, good luck, and then yelling at them that they didn't do anything in the CRM. Like, it's too much all at once for most people to understand technology. So what we have now, we have Foundation, all of our teams are using it. We also implemented it to our entire backlog at the same time. I know that that's like not what normally builders would say to do, but there is a reason and a rationale behind it. So most of the time people think, okay, I'm going to turn on this technology from here, and any new buyer is going to go through the process. That can work. The thing I see in that is we missed all of our training, because we had a test environment, but people don't test very well. They're like, yeah, I logged in once and it was fine. And like, it's not a real buyer. There's no stakes. Nobody wants to fake the stakes if they have a job to do. So we actually put all of our buyers into it who are under construction within like 45 days of close. So anyone who was too close to closing, we didn't include them because we didn't want to overwhelm them if they were close to closing. So we put all of them in there for 2 reasons. One, they get to now compare the way they were being communicated with before compared to the new way they're being communicated with. So therefore, we're going to get faster feedback of like, this is great because of this reason. I'm going to get more specific feedback, more detailed feedback. And the other reason is it's easier for the team to just change their habit today and not have to do 2 things 2 different ways. So if I have to communicate to this person like this for 6 months, but this person I have to communicate here now, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to pick one and I'm going to not do it well. And so you're trying to solve for that employee who has to switch their whole job. That's what technology does. You are switching their job. It's important to be honest about that and say, yes, we know that. Our hope is that it's easier and we're going to switch all of it over. It's a switch on, switch off versus lots of phasing in and out. So we turned it all on for everyone. It took a lot to get them all updated, but we had a team effort. We had all the sales team come in and upload the documents for their buyers and make sure their construction milestones were updated. Add all the past updates they'd ever sent their buyers. That was a project that they didn't love, but they loved the after results. Because when we sent that out to the buyer and said, hey, we just launched our brand new Eastbrook app and we want you to be the first ones to try it. You're somewhere in the process. We've done our best to update it to the best of our abilities. Tell us what we missed, poke around, play with it, tell us what you think. And they were like, oh my gosh, this is great. Thank you.
Yeah.
They went in, they found all their documents, they found all their photos, they found all their videos. They figured out how to message. Like I was planning a drip campaign to teach them the app. They learned it overnight because we understand how apps work. I don't need to teach you how to use an app. We actually needed to teach our team how to change the process to foundation. So now it was getting our transaction coordinator. When a sale happens, we call it a ring the bell. When our ring the bell happens, add the transaction in foundation, upload all the customer's documents. She actually is now breaking them out and naming them so that easy to find them. When they go to the documents, they can find their purchase agreement, their addendum, their deposit. All the documents are there. All their community and HOA docs that they're going to have to review are there. Eventually, their plans will get updated and their selections will be added. So all the things are there. The sales team sends a message saying, welcome to the app. We're so excited to have you here. Here is how we're going to communicate from here on out. Let us know if you have any questions. The next area is action items, and it preloads all of our action items. So you got to turn in your final deposit. You've got to schedule your HCS, our home creation studio appointments. You've got to have your pre-drywall walk and your frame walk and your celebration. Like every event is a task, and then anything that we're going to need them to do is a task. And it's all in there for them. And so they see not just the steps of the transaction, but what I'm going to have to do and then what we're going to do, because the other section is milestones. So they're seeing, here's my steps and here's Eastbrook's steps. And each of the construction milestones then has a little description of what it means to be at that stage. And then our construction team is updating those throughout the process. We actually wanted it to start right at contract. So our designers that they're working with, message them in the app before their appointment, say they're excited to see them, ask if they have any questions. After their appointment, they take pictures of their palettes that they came up with and put those in the app. So everything is stored there. And then questions between appointments are answered. So it's kind of how it functions and lives and breathes. And it was a lot. And it was really the right thing to do because we got instant results and our team was instantly ready to there's no delays. Your buyers are messaging you already. So I know you didn't want a message, but too bad you have messages to go get after. I mean, you kind of keep them accountable. The customer keeps them accountable because the customer is messaging you.
Kyle has been ferociously writing notes to back up to what's saying. I'm just like, let's see what you have to say out. You're hilarious.
Yeah, I love it.
I write a lot. No, it's good stuff, Sarah. Sarah talked about, Meredith, to your question, Sarah talked about communication. And so I think, I'll peel forward a couple chapters, which is the homeowners, right? And I learned quickly, I didn't learn this at Zillow because Zillow, it was like digital marketing. I was so focused on how do we get more leads? How do we get more leads? How do we get leads that convert? How do we get leads that convert? Now it's foundation. I kind of joke internally with the foundation folks. I'm like, you guys, we're like getting blueprint training on how to be a division president one day, right? Because we're learning every facet of the company. And when I think of communication with owners, a lot of builders, I would assume, would agree with this logic that a lot of times, we don't want to hear from our homeowners because in the past, when you hear from your homeowner, there's a problem. And at Foundation, that's what we're really trying to turn the corner on is we shouldn't just hear from our customers when there's a problem. We should try to think of everything. We should empower the customers to find that information themselves, And so if you've heard me speak at all, I'm a new construction homeowner. The one thing that was miserable about the entire experience was this huge packet of paper that had all of my appliances and my paint colors, and you have 30 days to register this and 60 days to register that. For me, it's like, man, wouldn't it be great if the Eastbrook Homes app sent push notification reminders, email notifications to the customers, if that's their main preference of communication, reminding them, hey, you got 30 days for this oven. You got 30 days for this fridge. Oh, and by the way, click the fridge icon. You can see the dimensions. You can see how big it is. If you ever need to buy a new fridge again, right? You know the exact size of your fridge. You don't need to go find papers or email your builder back and say, I lost this. Can you resend it? It's a pain, it's a pain for everybody. And so as you think about like lifetime communication, I think Sarah is telling a really good story of how their team uses it today through the process. There's also this opportunity of like builders and their relationship with buyers, like they're really going to appreciate the fact that you did think of everything down to paint color when there's a Sharpie that gets drawn on the wall with one of your kids. And, your internal teams now at your builder companies don't need to go look through filing cabinets or go find that information and get back to the customer. They can just say, hey, let me show you your login credentials. Let me make sure you have those. Okay, cool. And let me show you how you can get into your Eastbrook app, and we'll show you how you can find that information, and we'll do it together. Right. I think that's what we're doing. That's changing the communication scope.
Well, I think there's the communication, but I also kind of think that one of the things we're talking about is how do we bring joy back into the home and joy back into the process and joy back into the communication instead of it being 100% tactical, if you will. So everybody runs from it. How do you bring joy to it through technology, right? Because we all want to be happier more often. And I think that it's about foundation and the program and what you do. But I think at the very bottom level, it's that how do you bring joy into a process and into a home? And like Sarah said, into something that is just, it's so insurmountably complicated, but joy is simple.
Well, and I think that's a good first step to think about, right? And I think Sarah, I mean, she kind of talked a little bit about the internal process of Eastbrook, and what led to that first step was coming from construction, and right, them being operational excellence, where Sarah's like, yeah, I got your back. Let me find a solution. You also think about what are your biggest pitfalls in your customer experience roadmap right now? What are the things that are stressful, that aren't joyful, that they suck, right? Because at the end of the day, like you look at those peak moments, and it's signing the contract, and it's like your design studio meeting, and it's getting the keys, and it's like there are peak moments that exist for a reason. How can we level up those pitfalls and make them more joyful, Kerry? I think that's spot on. I think that's a healthy first step for any organization, regardless of how your culture is, how your team handles change. The internal folks, they're going to be the first person to say this won't work, right? Start with what are the biggest headaches, the biggest pitfalls, and how can we make those 1% better?
Would you be so bold, Kyle or Sarah? I mean, I know we really wouldn't do this, but like when we're talking about find the joy, like where was your greatest pain point in working with any particular builder? And whatever that very particular that you see consistently as a pain point, wouldn't that foundationally be what you want to bring joy to somehow? Like, tell us, we need to know. Don't be afraid. Where was it? Oh my God, will this get better?
Yeah, we kind of do that. And we started that, I think it was about 3 years ago. We started pulse surveys throughout the whole process. So I told you we do the meet the customer, which is fun and like soft and exciting. But then at every step of the like hard stuff, we send a simple little survey. How is this? Yes. Was it good? Yes. No. It was good, bad, okay. That's what we asked. And then based on that, give us feedback. So we ask that after their home creation studio, after their pre-construction meeting, after their frame walk, after plumbing rough-ins, after drywall. So we ask them a bunch of different times, after carpet, and then after clothes, and then after like their first warranty meeting. And it's just a simple, was this good? Yes, no, okay. And then tell us why, why you feel that way. And it got met with such like pushback because I think we don't want to know the bad stuff. We're like, just stop being mad and then we'll be better, right? It just doesn't work that way. So we can only fix things if we literally ask, and the best people to ask are the people literally experiencing it. And so lots of us do the end of the build cycle. We ask the questions. We were doing that, but you're not getting that like right after you got done. How am I feeling right now? Okay, I just left my design appointment. I get this survey the next day. How am I feeling then? What's my snippet in time? And then we can see the sentiment map for each of our buyers where they were excited and then it was okay. And oh, this didn't go well. Oh, we got them excited again. That allows you to understand where are we consistently freaking people out or stressing them out. And then it also gives you the opportunity to fix it, which is why we see them come back up and why we spend a lot of time bringing it back up. We're never going to be perfect. Like I said at the beginning, we're not trying to be perfect, trying to earn your trust. So if you say to us, that appointment sucked, I hated it, it was so fast, I feel like I didn't get to answer any of my questions, I'm so stressed out, we have someone who calls that person and goes, let's get you back in. How can we help you? We're so sorry. That was not our intention. How can we fix that? And that like attention to detail and attention to the feelings in the moment, you'd be surprised how many times people go, yeah, I'm actually like okay with it now. I just was feeling a certain way. That's a good thing. You want those original feelings, even if they mellow out. It allows you to have earned their trust in that moment. It's important to not change everything because one person had a thing. It's important to address that one person's feeling for that one person. Not every person is going to feel that way, but that one person does feel that way. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And we often lead and manage teams making policies for the whole team for what one person needs to work on, and we don't address that with them. It could be construction, any of them. I'm curious about two things. One is, have you dealt with the objection, or how would you deal with the objection of this is going to create too much communication, too much work for all of us? Well, it's like opening Pandora's box. I, you know, or number two, this just would never work for us in general. Like this is, not going to happen. What would you say to that, to those objections?
I think the first thing that comes to mind is you don't know what you don't know. Honestly, I think this ties in nicely to what Kerry asked Meredith. I identified when I joined Foundation last January, I identified quickly with home builders. One of the biggest problems that we faced was we have all this communication on personal cell phone devices, right? Mm-hmm. And we have no way of knowing how our folks are representing our brand. Maybe what's been promised or not promised, but the buyer's saying that we promised something, right? And to create this like one-stop shop for internal collaboration, I mean, I've traveled around the country. A lot of builders coined this phrase, and we said it at Zillow, operational excellence, right? This opportunity to collaborate amongst departments. And so I always saw that pain point as being, all this communication is happening today, but it won't work for us, or this is just too much work. Wouldn't it be great if when you go on vacation, Meredith, as a new home sales consultant, that you can go on vacation, right? You don't need to take screenshots of text message threads. You don't need to forward email threads. You just literally can make Sarah Titus, who has your back for those 2 weeks when you're on a beach somewhere, they're going to be the main point of contact now. Sarah gets to meet the buyer where they're at in the process. One click away, you can always put yourself back in the buyer's shoes through the technology, right? But like, that's the type of environment we're creating. I think we also all know that at the end of the day, like, you'll go on LinkedIn, you could probably find, of the people that are participating today, someone has probably worked for 2 or 3 builders on this call, right? And it's like, what happens when people leave the company? The communication goes with them, right?
Yeah.
But when you're intentional about this opportunity, it's more work in the sense that we're turning on the lights, we're adding transparency into our communication and where our buyers are at. But ultimately, doesn't that create such a better work experience? Doesn't that help us have our people's back when we get the crazy home buyer who's like, oh, Meredith promised me XYZ. Well, yeah, no problem. Let's look at the communication. Where, show us where that's at. I will tell you, I was shocked, but like, man, we've gotten legal departments from home builders who are pumped for this
Yeah,
type of stuff.
I'm
They're like, oh
sure.
my gosh, thank goodness.
Well,
This is exactly what we need.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've been really good, I think, from a pre-sale perspective at creating a systematic approach to selling. Now, what you're saying, Kyle, is a systematic approach to closing and moving in. I think that's having that process in place and knowing that anybody could take over. You look at, with respect to OSCs in the front line, they are able to cover each other because they know what needs to be done. It's the same approach for closing. I like
Yeah.
that.
Sarah, did you experience any kind of objection with your team about this is going to cost so much more work? Talking. Oh.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We experienced all of that. You will. And sometimes it's good to remember that change is really hard, and it's okay to be scared and feel like it's going to be a lot of work. And that is what we're paid for. That's what we're here for. Yep. Sometimes it does cost more work, and then it won't, because with any change, it's more work in the front because you're learning to change your brain. You're learning to change the way you do a thing. Everything you do today easily was once hard. So yes, it will be more work at the front. I'm not going to lie and say it won't. But we're only 3 months in, and they're already like, this is way easier. So you just have to remember that like everything is hard at the beginning. That's not why if we just let that be, then we'll just never do anything hard. But the growth is in hard things. We have to do those hard things.
Yes.
And from the like pulse side of things, like those pulse surveys that we do, it was a like, oh my gosh, we're going to have people mad about this, that, and the other. You know what we actually found is how many people were like, yes, this is amazing. I loved meeting Amanda. Yes, I loved my pre-drywall walk. Chad was so intelligent. I really loved learning about how you guys use your spray foam insulation. Oh my gosh, I loved closing. Laura was so helpful, and it was smooth and it was easy. And I love my warranty person. Like, we actually found that the majority of people are really happy. And if all we ever do is deal with the frustrated people, it's why we have burnout in this industry. It's
So
why
I
we
have to
get so
believe
burned down.
that in listening to both you, Kyle and Sarah, I have to believe that one of the keys to any of this, whether it's foundation or whatever it is in bringing this out, is the presentation and the delivery, like we talk about in sales, to the people that are going to be on board is really, really key, because you see so many times you're all going to do this. And if you don't want to do this, you know where the door is.
Yep.
And well, not exactly, but you know what I mean, that I would have to believe that the buy-in up front from the people that are going to be involved is so critical on this.
Yeah. And I think that is important. I'll give Foundation that shout out, because at the end of the day, if you launch technology and it doesn't do it, you do lose people's trust. So it is important that your technology partners understand that they will be caring, participatory, listening to all that feedback at the beginning. And I think that's an important thing. When we are vendor partners, when we are choosing a vendor, we are the client. We are the homeowner to our builder. So I have homeowners that I sell things to. Kyle's my builder for my app. So if I have a problem, just like if my homeowner has a problem, I need to know who to call, when to call, and that you're going to do something about it. And I think that we get away from the idea of technology as like, nope, this is the thing I built and this is the way it is. And that's not going to work for us, because that's not how our businesses function. We don't build the same thing the same way every moment, every time. All of those buyers are not the same. So if our technology partners are pushing back, if your technology partners today are pushing back, giving you like, yeah, we'll get that done in a year. Well, I can build a house in a year. Why can't you fix this glitch? You know what I'm saying? Like, we need to remember that we deserve nice things as home builders. We should ask for our vendors to participate. We should push the boundaries, because that's how we get better solutions. We have to sit in that driver's seat, just like we need our buyers to tell us what they want in their home, or we end up building a home they don't want. If we don't actively ask for their insight and do what they ask, we won't have happy customers. technology partners have that same thing, which Kyle knows is me as a customer. That's how I operate. And Foundation has done a great job of that, which is what makes them a great technology partner.
Yeah, and I would say, Meredith, to your question of, okay, internally, oh, it's going to be an uphill battle. This won't work. I think there becomes quickly this, okay, well, why do we feel that way? What did technology look like in the past when you did this system or you adopted this software, this change? A lot of times it was 6 months, 12 months, 18 months. It was a headache. It didn't work how we wanted it to. We needed like 6 little things changed after we launched, but they weren't really prioritizing feature requests. I think one story I definitely want to, I want to tell you guys is we met with a home builder in the Pacific Northwest, and this was their technology team. This was their IT folks. These were the folks that were behind the scenes putting everything together. And so Foundation, we're all getting prepared for this technical conversation, API integration, XML feed guidelines for the content that's going to, bring this app to life, all these things. And we hop in this meeting, and the first question asked is, I'll never forget this. She looks at our team and she says, "How do you guys define partnership?" And I was like, oh man, I was not expecting, like, we were ready for it, but we weren't ready for it, right? We were thinking, oh, we're just going to be like tunnel vision, focus on this technical conversation. And it completely redirected the conversation. We talked about what happens when a buyer has trouble logging into the app. What happens when something's not working properly, right? What happens when I have a user who doesn't want to use it because this thing is adding 2 hours to their, how do you guys prioritize feature requests? How quickly do you guys ship code, right? And all these things. And it's like, for me, when Sarah says this, some vendors might be like, oh man, like that might be a tough client. I'm like, bring it on. That's a partnership that's going to make our company better. That's going to be something where we're going, like, we want to be in this industry for a very long time because the product's not done. Foundation's biggest competitor is how the product was 6 months ago, right? Like, we want to always ship code. We always want to make it better. We always want to find ways to improve. And that's by effectively listening of, okay, why won't it work? Why won't people get excited? And so, Kerry, to your point of like how you deliver this to the team, get in person, get in the truck, right? Like, understand their day-to-day, where their challenges are. And if you can alleviate 2 hours out of their week, that's a stronger ROI for the builder. That's a work-life balance that's better for the individual. And ultimately, customers they're gonna feel that. And that leads to all the big stuff and the big benefits.
Yeah, I love all that. And I think technology should always amplify what we're already doing well. And that's where I'm bringing us back full circle to where we started, was that Eastbrook already had a customer touch point journey mapped out after the sale. And it sounds like they have a sentiment. What did you call it? A sentiment?
Just like the tracking their sentiment throughout the build
Yeah,
cycle.
sentiment tracking.
Journey.
Sentiment. So they had these things in place with the people, right? They had people and a process. And so then they looked for tech to make that easier for everybody so that our customers could feel the effort of the people and the process. So when you're trying to use individual cell phones and do all this via text or whatever, your people, what they're trying to do isn't coming across. It isn't necessarily conveying in the best way possible, but yet they're putting in the effort. It's like the duck or that's very smooth on the top of the water, but underneath the feet are going like this.
Yes.
That's your well-intentioned team trying to convey these touch points, but without a proper way to document them.
Correct.
As you're saying, the legal people get really happy without a proper way to document, without a proper way and an easy way to communicate. And I think all their efforts aren't really shining. So to me, one of your best sales pitches when you're bringing in a team on this is to say, hey, you all are already doing a lot of amazing things. And we want to make sure that it's being heard and being seen.
Correct.
But if you don't have those things in place first, none of the rest is going to work. So I think your takeaways today have got to be people and process first.
Mhm.
And then once you have that, this tech, any one of these options will help make all of that easier and make it shine brighter. And maybe if you don't quite have all the touch points down, the tech would help you enable what they are, what other people are doing, because you probably built in, you've got milestones mapped out, and then they could either be customized to what the one you all, the internal one that the builder has, or they could be a great guide and say, hey, we don't quite have enough touch points. Here's what's built in and what others are doing, so let's adopt them. So I can see where it makes people and process better, but I still really believe you got to have those pieces in place. And
Yep.
that's where the culture meets the tech, which was the goal of our conversation today.
Yeah.
We have 1 minute left. Our next builder town hall is October 10th. I don't know what we'll be talking about yet, but I'm sure that I will find a timely and exciting topic for all of us to discuss. You can follow our updates on our Facebook group, our Builder Town Hall Facebook group. The recording will be posted there, as well as we'll go out in the email, and we'll post it on LinkedIn on my profile and all of the relevant socials. Sarah, Kyle, Angela, Kerry, thank you all so much again for your contributions today. You make the industry better by sharing what you're doing, and it's a big ask, and we appreciate it. So thank you for coming. Thank you for being on.
Thank
For
you.
having us.
Thanks,
Thanks, Tina.
everybody.
You're welcome. All
Thank
right,
y'all.
everybody have a good Friday and go get them. We'll see you next time.